On Sex Positive Me, we explore all aspects of sex and relationships, ranging from fetishes and BDSM to ethical non-monogamy and LGBTQ issues. Sex Positive Me destigmatizes sexual practices and relationships while reconciling reality with myth and misconceptions. Our goal is to educate, entertain, and be advocates of sexual freedom. And now here's your hosts, Angelique and John Luna.
Welcome to our pre-Valentine's Day recording, because by the time this gets released, it's after Valentine's Day.
Just after Valentine's.
Just after. And of course, it's your hostess with the mostest, Angelique Luna, here with my lovely companion, partner in crime. And Daddy just bought me a new purse. I'm so excited. It's a stitch with pineapple. So for the swinger community, I'm officially have a pineapple purse, but stitch.
We did actually see, not today, a purse with an upside down pineapple on it. So that trend is starting to really catch on. But no, Disney made the pineapples right side up.
Yeah, I know. I was looking for a few ones, but it's Stitch. Eventually, there's going to be an upside down pineapple with Stitch.
Well, there was an upside down Stitch. If you got the right side up Stitch and just turn the purse upside down, it accomplishes a good thing.
It could be at that point. Well, John C. Luna. So maybe I could convince John to get that as a tattoo, a Stitch pineapple.
Well, I'm planning on the pineapple.
Well, no, but you're planning with a lot of piggy tattoos too. So
one.
I thought we said 3.
Because you're in love with Pua.
I thought we said 3. We agreed to 3.
Well, we should probably talk to our guest here.
Oh, I know. She's having fun already giggling here. So I don't like that she's a giggler.
As we have this moment of poking each other on who's doing the introductions.
Because we know Angelique's speech impediment problem with introducing guests. So that's why I'm throwing it to John, because he does it much better.
Well, we have a very talented and versatile guest on the show tonight. Someone who has created Sex and Sensuality, an educational burlesque show, which I'm dying to talk about. But she's also a sex and relationship therapist. I hopefully said that one right. And you know what? I'm going to let her do a little talk on herself. Welcome, Miss Meka Nicole.
Hey, how are you doing?
We're doing wonderful. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Well, we couldn't pass up with all of the different things you do. And whenever I hear the word burlesque, my ears go up. It's one of those underground things that people who haven't done it still think Chicago or like the play, something from way long ago. They have these 1920s images, and the truth is it's so entertaining. I've been to so many of them, and you put the word educational in front, so I want to hear about that.
Yeah, it's definitely entertaining. I love burlesque. I came up with my show in 2013. I started just wanting to teach women how to be sexually confident in expressing their needs in the bedroom. So it was strictly for women. And my goal was to teach women how to, find the best sex positions, the right lingo to use when expressing their needs to whoever their partner is, as well as learning about aphrodisiacs, tantra. It was just a whole conglomerate of sexual, fun tidbits that I would teach. And then I would include a dance lesson. I had a choreographer at the time who would do the shows with me. And she would do a little sexy chair dance routine or a lap dance routine, something that they could take back home to their partner. And it was just such a good time. But in 2019, I wanted to switch it up a little bit and include more of the burlesque dance to the show. And I changed it, and we include acting now. So I write, produce, and direct the show. And it's different scenarios that couples or women may experience in their sex life. And we bring it to the forefront, and we present the issue. The woman always has an issue. And of course, at the end, she's always satisfied, with the resolution. So we incorporate the dance in between the skits. And this was just a way to make sure we are entertaining our men, but also showing our women that these dance moves can be done by any body type, any shape, they're not that hard, you know, and you can still take them home. So we just wanted men to be included in a way that they felt comfortable sitting there with their spouse, looking at, you know, these women dancing. So we do not have any like striptease, but we are dancing in lingerie.
Very cool. I tell you, Atlanta is like this, for me at least, recently discovered jewel of the South. There's so much going on in that city, and it is actually so vibrant sexually. The fact that you've been doing this for 7 years now, that's amazing.
And we're just discovering this now. I'm feeling like lack of marketing here because we drive up to Atlanta quite a bit. So that,
oh, really?
Yeah. So we've gone to Sex Down South 4 times. So that's one of our favorite conferences to go up and visit. And yeah, no, that sounds exciting. Have you approached Sex Down South to do this show?
No, I have not approached them to do the show. No.
I suggest you to do that because this would get such a bang because they have some wild nights there. So yes, it would be so much fun. Yes, because I know right now they're accepting presenters. So that's, you know, if you want to present, you know, the storytelling dance and how to resolve your sexy issues, that's good. Hey, I love Marla. That's why I promote her. Sorry.
Well, I'm curious.
Yes, I know Marla. I've spoken with her a couple of times here.
Well, I'm curious. You obviously saw a need to create this back 7 years ago, and to do something like this in the South definitely takes some chutzpah, we'll say, to put this together. Curious, what was the experience of starting to develop this and bringing it together? Because I went to the website, the video's hot as hell.
Thank you.
Looking good.
Thanks. So how I started, is really a very simple story. So my 2 good friends at the time, we were all talking one day, just hanging out one night, and they're like, you know, I have to have a drink or something to be sexy for my man. And I'm like, why? You shouldn't have to. You shouldn't need anything to feel sexy. And I just felt like a lot of women are very shy, but also not just shy. A lot of times we're made to feel like we are dirty, nasty, hoes, or whatever if we express that we want certain things in the bedroom. So my goal was to teach women how to express that without feeling shame. So I just wanted to take the shame out of talking about sex. And of course, the more we talk about sex, the less deviant sexual behaviors we will experience. So that was my goal. And then especially to give power back to Black women because of the whole Jezebel and the, oh gosh, what is her name? Why the name just lost me, but there's a character that, you know, they made the bust of her and she has a big booty and all this other kind of stuff, and it's made to look like that's what all, you know, Black women are about. So my goal was to teach sex in a positive way, being able to express ourselves sexually, take our power back as women and as Black women, as well as teach healthy, safe sex.
Yeah, that's something I gotta blame us guys for at times, because I see so much we say that we want the freaky woman, and then when we finally get it, so many of them are like, oh hell, and it's like, damn it, boy, you asked for it. So
yes, right. That was my pre-dating experience, because I was the lady in the street and the freak in the bed, and some guys just like freaked out. I'm like, really? Really? If I was considered the mistress, then it's okay. But as a permanent relationship, that was not okay.
Yeah.
Because that media presentation of your wife does not give you blowjobs. That's why you have a mistress, because those lips kiss your children's lips. Like, that philosophy just doesn't make sense for me ever.
Yeah, it doesn't. And you should be able to please your partner in any way that you feel comfortable. Of course, you need to feel comfortable doing it without feeling like there's some shame tied to that.
And it's amazing how much shame we find on the podcast, doing coaching, of it stops us from communicating with even our partners. I think a lot of people are a lot freakier than they will ever let anyone know, even admit to themselves. And if they did, I always think, the more good, positive sex we have, the nicer the world is.
It is. It's such a great stress reliever. And then you're not hiding stuff from your partner and building resentment, because later on it does turn into resentment. I've counseled numerous couples where they have a sexual side that they can't release because they don't know how to have the conversation with their partner, or they've tried and their partner has shut them down.
Well, I think a lot of us, we're lacking more the tools as opposed to the want, or at least not just the tools, but the permission as well to express that.
I definitely agree.
Because I had one client that I had asked, okay, when you self-pleasure yourself, do you give yourself permission to moan out loud? And then it hit her. It's like, no, I don't even do it. Then you're questioning not moaning with your partner when the answer is you're not even moaning with yourself. So learn to moan and scream and release with yourself. And that way it will naturally come when you're with your partner.
That is so true. When we used to do the show, one of the icebreakers was a moaning contest, just to help women find their voice to moan and scream and however they want to do it. And I mean, it was so amazing and so freeing.
That is so true, because I've told men you need to breathe, because again, we at that moment of orgasm, I've seen men or women go crazy, and then they kind of get that quiet and hold it in, and I'm like, that's the time to let it go. That's the explosion.
Yes, it's like release.
Just let it out. It's okay.
Let the fireworks go.
It's a safe spot. You already did the duty. Come on, just enjoy the bliss.
Exactly. I mean, if you can get to that point where you can share your body with someone, you can trust them enough to scream a little bit.
Or giggle. Some of us are
giggle. Whatever sound you need to make, you can trust them enough to do that.
So I'm guessing you have some, and I don't want to, again, break any confidentiality. There's some really good success stories from this, being you've done it for the number of years. Anything you can share?
Yeah. So one individual years ago, she wrote me, and she's like, your show just motivated me so much to just become more confident in who I am as a woman. And she started to lose weight. She changed her style of dress, and she just started to feel so much better about herself. And that, of course, is going to increase your sexual confidence in and of itself. So I had her, I had another couple, they, utilized one of the games we played to create conversation for themselves at the show. And he learned something new about her. He learned that she loved missionary sex. And he learned, she liked missionary sex because it brought them closer, in her opinion. And he never knew that about her. It was like they were together for 13 years. So that was something new for them, and they were able to explore that side of her together.
That's wonderful. And the thing is, I'm kind of sad at the same time, because that is not the first time I've heard that exact story. And
oh, really?
One of my favorite stories is a couple that was together for 30 years. They got married at 18, high school sweethearts, the whole thing. Just before they turned 50, watching some HBO something, and a threesome came on. And the woman actually got the courage, for some reason. Don't know if there was alcohol involved or what. She just said, I decided to go with it. Turned around and said, well, what would you think about having a threesome, to her husband of 30 years?
Wow.
So never mentioned it. We're talking to people that are like leaders at the church. His response was, I've been dreaming of that since I was 16. Just never thought you'd be into it.
I love it. And that's what, that's the point of the show, is to create those conversations amongst couples, or, women, to be able to to say it to whoever they're having sex with, whether they're in a partnership or not, and allow that conversation to flow and get to a solution so you can do what you want to do in the bedroom. It's no sense in having sex if you can't enjoy it, you know.
Exactly.
Hell yeah.
And this particular show that we're doing on March the 20th is focused on threesomes. And she tells her husband she wants a threesome. And he's like, sure, we can have a threesome. And then she's like, but I want it with another man. So that's the, you know, taboo-ness of it. And just basically, how does she work through that with him? And where does it go? Because, of course, most men, they want two women. They don't want a man, you know, two men. So, yeah, it's an interesting show.
That is such a funny topic, and it's a popular one to where it's made it into vanilla sitcoms. And I think one sitcom turned it The Devil's Threesome, and I'm like, come on, no threesome's a bad threesome. Well, they can be, but
well,
yeah.
They can be, because they can be very awkward. And, you know, as you know, one person may feel a little left out. Like someone used to term it here. She was a comedian here. She used to do shows here, and she always termed it like, you have the juice girl. This the girl that you go send to go get the juice, and then you continue to have sex with this other person in the bed. So it could turn into some crazy, you know, scenario like that. And then it's like, but I'm left out. I want to be a part of the threesome. So yeah, it can turn badly.
It has to be balanced.
And communication going on left and right.
Yes, you got to have communication. And I think a lot of people don't do that. It's like, it seems so exotic. So you don't really, it's like, oh, I know it's going to happen. It's just going to be nice and hot. But then you don't talk about certain things, and you're a little uncomfortable and awkward.
Yeah, it's got to be a lot of checking in real time. Mm-hmm. Because if you're not experienced in it, I mean, even the first times we've had sex with bringing in a third or fourth,
couples, yeah.
There are that moment where you're you're having fun, you kind of look to the side, and you were sitting there, you were smiling. I'm like, we're good? We're good? We're good?
Because sometimes I like to be a voyeur. I like to see him play, you know, and cheerleading and all that. So just because I'm smiling in the corner doesn't mean I'm not having a good time.
Sometimes I forget, because depending on the night, she can be a voyeur or she can be an exhibitionist. Mm-hmm. She may be on the sidelines viewing, or she wants to be in the center of the room having everyone watch.
Which was one of our first fights.
Oh, really? Don't make me go in counseling mode, because I'm like, really, so what happened?
No, here, let me tell you. Let's start with, okay, we met in the swinger lifestyle.
Oh, cool.
So when we met, he was 2 years in. I'm 15 years in.
Oh.
Yeah. I sat as a wee baby when there was a thing called key parties, and you had to go through the Pennywise to find a date.
We were pre-Craigslist.
I was pre-internet. So yes. So I already had, like, you know, and I was an exhibitionist, and he was this little introvert that I didn't know at the time. So we're at a swing party. We're getting hot and heavy. We're in the middle of the room. All of a sudden, you know, he looks up and there's 30 people watching us, and he just jumps up and leaves. And I'm like, oh, no, we're finishing up here.
This is like 10 years ago now. So we disagree on the details, but I do recall looking up and having it was about the room of 30 people. We do agree on that one.
Yeah.
So y'all was doing some good stuff.
Oh yeah.
Well, we were, until I realized I had an audience, and since then I've gotten used to it.
I've gotten
a lot more confidence. But previous to that, I had come out of a marriage where I spent the year celibate. So when I went into the swinging community, it was night and day. My life.
I bet it was.
Yeah. So yes, looking up, me and my other parts got a little stage shy, and I'm like, okay, we're done. Let's continue somewhere else. And she's like, we're finishing right here. So it wasn't a huge fight, but it is a funny one to bring up.
Yeah, because that was our first couples relationship fight. That's what we fought.
That is interesting. But you know what? It does take a level of confidence, you know, to be able to have sex in front of other people. It does.
Well, just to have sexual confidence, period, it takes a lot
Mhm.
because, it is one of those, you talk to them and they get so upset because their partner hasn't done this right. They don't know what they're doing. And then my first question to them is like, have you masturbated in front of each other? And they just like, oh, why? And I'm like,
Right.
well, it's trying to get map directions. There's Google
Mhm.
Maps and Apple Maps. So you could end up at the same destination, but different directions. So
That is so
try to
true.
explain it.
And
However,
it's good too. Oh, go ahead.
please go ahead. No.
No, I was just going to piggyback a little bit off of her. It's just good to, like you said, masturbate in front of each other. But the more you know about your body, the easier it is for you to tell them, like, hey, move a little to the left, lick a little harder, suck a little deeper. I don't know, those types of things to get you what you want in the bedroom. So masturbating, moaning, all those things we've been talking about, they are so important.
Yeah, I don't like a quiet lover. That silence just adds for too much questions about, am I doing it right or wrong? I'm not sure here.
Or at the beginning of a horror movie.
Just
Well, yeah, that too. But I do agree. Like it make you question yourself. Like, dang, is she satisfied? Is he satisfied? Does he like what I'm doing? You need some direction. You need some encouragement.
well, the one thing we've come to encourage is what we call our post-game wrap-up, which is in terms that most people understand that when you're done with sex, doesn't have to be immediate, but there needs to be some type of discussion of, was that good? Was that bad? Did it feel mediocre? Did you keep going in the wrong spot? Is my, did I pull my shoulder out in high school and you kept leaning on it? All these details that people just kind of go, it was okay. I could put up with it. I'm like, that's not something you put up with.
Yeah, but
No.
if you watch a sporting games, they all look forward to what went wrong, what did good, what's going on. I'm like,
that post game wrap up. Yeah.
That's why we called it that, because most
Yep.
people can relate to that, especially right after the
Exactly.
Super Bowl.
Exactly. I wrote a journal. It's called, why do I always just, 20-day journaling guide to reconnecting sexually with your partner. And in the guide, that's what it's all about. It's just having those discussions, talking to each other about what you like in the bedroom, how you like it, when you like it, and all this stuff. And it leads up to you, hopefully, that 20th day coming together to have sex based off everything that you've learned about each other over those 20 days. So, yeah, I encourage that conversation.
And can people buy that on Amazon?
They can buy it on my website, which is mekanicole.com.
No, I like resources and tools like that for people to get them out of their freaking head.
Mm-hmm.
Because you need to speak it out and, vomit your words out to say what is it you're feeling and thinking. And sometimes you need that structure. Because if you tell people, it's like, sit down and write your feelings, they're like, what do you mean my feelings? What do you mean? I was like, so writing prompts in journals like that, I'm always excited to share. I'm like, dude, this is the way to get out of your comfort zone.
I
do agree. Definitely agree.
Well, we're going to take just a real quick break. And when we come back, we're going to talk a little more with Miss Meka Nicole, because she is also a licensed mental health therapist. So we'll be continuing that in just a moment.
Hey, John, I want to get a new toy.
Okay, so let's go to Fair Villa.
But I don't want to waste time trying to find out what goes with what.
Well, there's Fairville University, and their staff is very well educated and helpful.
Okay, but how about if I just want to go to a party instead?
Then go to their website, because on their calendar they list all their events.
But I don't want to spend a lot of money.
Have you heard of their loyalty program?
Oh yeah, that thing on my keychain that makes everyone blush every time they see it.
That's the one.
Let's go.
Well, they have over 5 locations in Central Florida. Which one do you want to go to?
Fair Villa. For pleasure, fun, and fantasy.
Okay, thanks to our sponsors for taking care of the bills and taking care of this podcast so we could still bring you fun and entertaining educational stuff like our current guest, Miss Meka Nicole. Again, my speech impediment. It's like,
You did a great job.
well, thank you. I appreciate it. So I had a silly question. Is the burlesque show virtual or in person only?
Okay, so right now it's in person only, but we have 2 shows with very low numbers to just make sure everyone is spread out. And we eventually will consider making these virtual or at least making them available for purchase after the fact. But I haven't quite made that hard choice yet. But yes, so it's we have 2 shows in one night to keep it spread out, to keep it COVID friendly. And I mean, I guess as COVID friendly as we could get, of course.
Mhm.
And we will be doing temperature checks. You have to keep on your mask. My actors, dancers, we're all performing in our masks. So, yeah.
Kudos. I can't exercise with a mask on, so hopefully the dancing isn't quite too much.
No, it's not over the top. It's really sensual, sexy. They've been doing an amazing job, all of the dancers. I'm like so proud of them. But with the show, just to give you a quick overview, so you get to the show, you get to see the show, but then you also get to explore because we're having a show at Tokyo Valentino. Have you all heard of that?
I've heard of it. I haven't been there.
Okay, well, Tokyo Valentino is like a large sex store, but they also have like dungeon-like rooms and video rooms on 3 levels where you can go in and really explore your sexuality. And like if you're into BDSM, they got a room for that. You know, they just have a room for really most anything that you want to do. They also have like a pole, they have a dance floor, so they throw parties there. So we will be one of the events, held at Tokyo Valentino. So what's included with the ticket is a $20 gift card to the store, but also the entrance to explore all of these rooms, which will include a lot of our vendors, which will make it a little bit very like interactive for our guests. Like we have one vendor, he does sexual tea. And it's, I think it's called, let me get the name because I want to make sure I gave you all the right.
See, now I want to go.
The right.
I'm telling you, that's why I'm like, Donnie, I haven't been out of the house.
You may want to come. It's called Revel Sexual Tea. So he also does like this exercise routine for the women. But anyway, the tea is to help women increase their libido, make them feel a little bit more sexy, of course. And then the exercises, the sexercises, he will demonstrate also helps with that same thing. So we'll have like vendors like him throughout those rooms where they can explore the vendor and it's interactive and it's just all sexy and fun. And you get to do that in between the show. So you come to the first show, then you go and explore the rooms. We have our second show and then they get to go and explore the rooms.
Nice.
I like that idea.
Why don't we have one of those?
Because the rat takes care of everything else. That's why we're denied because of the rat.
Oh,
For
good.
those of you who don't know, the rat is Disney. They keep it a little PG down here.
Yes, they have a lot of restrictions in Orange County based on Mickey Mouse. So,
But that's okay. It's a 4-hour drive to Miami or an 8-hour drive to Atlanta. So we're kind of right in that middle.
You're right in the middle. So just come on. You're more than welcome. You could be my guest.
Oh, that would be fun.
mini vacation.
Well, it's not like we haven't been stuck indoors for a while.
I know, we've been good. Sort of.
Maybe.
Kind of.
Okay. Well, we've been good about not going out and wearing our mask when we are. Once we're in the house, I have no promises about being good.
Well, please don't be good in your house.
Hell no.
I know if many of our audience members have seen our studio and all the things around the studio, so they know what we get into. Considering our latest addition to the house was a mount point, so we could do suspension rope and use a sex swing. So yes.
Yes, I love it. Sexy, sexy.
So tell us, what do you do when you are not teaching couples how to have great sex and burlesque dance?
Or planning and doing it, because as soon as she told me everything that she was doing, the producing, I'm like, and you still have a full vibrant practice and a family that you're raising? Tell me when you have time for yourself.
Yes, I do. So I am a mother of a 2.5-year-old. I am married. My wife is Chase. She's a barber here in Atlanta. And she's so supportive of everything that I do. So she helps run me so I can run all of my businesses. And but aside from that, I do run a private practice. Right now we're really expanding because this is like the age of the therapist right now. That's what I say. I call it the age of the therapist. But we're expanding. I probably see about 40 clients a week. And I know.
That's a lot for a therapist. I'm sorry. How are you doing with the COVID, what do they call it? COVID stress as a mental health therapist? Because I know I had one of my mental health friends. It's like, don't forget to check in on your therapist friends. And I'm like, okay. It's like,
yeah. Well, I just hired another therapist. So I have another therapist. I have an office manager, and they have come in and just taken, some of the load, and it has been great. I will be hiring an intern soon. So, that will help with some of the load. Right now we're pretty busy. So I'm just grateful for it though.
Absolutely.
Very, very grateful for it. But once I finish, with my counseling, I normally just kind of rest. I go to sleep. Doing the show is a fun thing for me. So it's really, to me, a form of self-care. So I don't look at that as work per se. I like to read. I love playing video games. We go bowling, so I do get time for myself,
That's good.
Yes, I like that balance there to make sure you still take care of yourself, because, it is a lot taking care of others and, counseling them. And, sometimes when you're hearing you just want to say, okay, I'm here for you. At the same time, let me just get the Simpsons baseball bat therapy to remind you it's all about you and taking care of you because it's one of those things that people are like, well, I got to take care of everybody else and not myself. And I'm like, no, if you can't take care of yourself and recharge your batteries, how can you take care of others?
That is so true. I learned a long time ago. I started in this field as a behavioral health case manager for adults diagnosed with severe mental illness. And I started that job right out of college, and I was like 20. My mom was like, why are you working with this population? I'm like, Mom, it's okay. I can do it. I can handle it. But I learned really quickly that if I did not learn how to separate my feelings for them and my want for them to succeed and be healthy and make good decisions, then I was going to burn out really fast. So I would see 4 clients a day. After I would leave, I left at 1:00, and I would picture a little wastebasket and throw them all out of my mind and go home. And that was it. I didn't think about them again until I had to see them the next time. And that's kind of like how I've been able to get by without burning out. I just, it's like when I'm finished with you in your session, I do my note and I'm done. And that's it.
That's
fantastic.
Great that you're able to do that. I find it very interesting the last year with COVID, how I think effects have been unexpected. Being that everyone's been indoors, I'm sure now, and from our other mental health professional friends, the people going to mental health has increased.
And
it
has. I was seeing by the time COVID hit, right, well, let's say by January of last year, I was maybe seeing maybe 10 clients a week. And then by April, I was up to maybe 20. And my biller was like, okay, you need to hire someone else because I can't keep up with these clients anymore. You're too busy. And so probably by June, we were up to about 30 to 35 clients a week.
Wow.
Last year.
Well,
Yeah, and then all of my friends, my friends are therapists as well, and their practices are flourishing. So we're doing our best to help.
well, we appreciate it. And again, I'm glad it's success because this has hurt so many people and so many people's careers have gone up in smoke and are currently in limbo. So to hear that some people are succeeding, besides the big rich people.
Come on. No politics. Come on. This is sexy time.
I think that it's more is I say that I don't look at it as like us as therapists succeeding. I look at it as not succeeding money-wise. I look at it as succeeding in helping as many people as we can because, I think we never think about grief other than when we lose someone to, from this earth. But we are grieving. Like this country is grieving right now. And it's so many people who are grieving for COVID. They're grieving the loss of their normal lives. They no longer have their normal coping skills. And then on top of grieving, loss of jobs, loss of relationships, and then on top of the loss of their family members or friends and not being able to even get out and see people anymore. So I look at it as we are being successful in helping as many people as we can get through this pandemic.
Absolutely. And that's something that people often don't understand when seeing a mental health professional in a relationship aspect, that they're grieving the loss of a relationship. They're grieving the loss of not having something there that was always there. I mean, the person's still alive, but they moved on, but it is, something they still need to grieve. And we decided to specialize more in the ethical non-monogamy coaching and helping people in that aspect because there's still not as many, but it is changing. Licensed therapists and mental health professionals that understand those lifestyles dynamics. And especially when a polyamory couple loses a partner because of, they moved on or they found somebody else, they still need to grieve that loss.
That is so true. I did have my first, well, I'm not going to say my first, but I guess my first polyamory situation where that exact thing happened, and she was just finding it so hard to cope. On top of it was COVID, so we really had to work through her feelings of loss and just trying to overcome that particular situation. So I do agree. And I think that more therapists, we talk about like multicultural counseling and we talk about counseling like being a diverse type of therapist. I think that more therapists do need to look into, those non-monogamous, lifestyles and relationships and understand them because it's more people, who are living that way.
They are. And it's just, they need to understand that these lifestyles, there's nothing wrong with it. In all reality, they've been going around since the dawn of time.
Exactly.
It's just been, the last couple of centuries that we're like monogamous. You have to be married and have kids and all this because of, what was it? Your interpretation of the church because of the land and.
Oh, yeah. Okay. 12 years Catholic school. So I got some of that history in there. And of course, the thing that always came up is why priests aren't married. And the popular answer was it's because they need to devote their life to God. And that's not the truth, as far as I was told. The reason was you always inherited your land, the male, from your father, going back to the 13th, 14th, 15th centuries. So if your father was a priest in that time, he had the church. The church didn't want to give up the building.
Oh, wow.
So they stopped them from getting married. There's always a functional reason behind it, whether that's the popular reason. So.
Well, I learned something new tonight. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Usually we're the one who's always learning and we love it.
We teach a little, but
I know, but when we have guests, we always learn so much fun stuff. That's why.
so tell us, where can people reach you?
So they can reach me on my website. So I have two. So one for the show is sensuality.com. That's where you can go and purchase tickets. You can find out more about the show, find out more about, what I do as a sex educator. I do keep those two separately. And let me tell y'all a real quick story why I keep it separate. So I was on Psychology Today, and on Psychology Today, you list your areas of expertise. And one of the areas that I had in the beginning, when I was like very young in this world, I had sex therapy. And I kid you not, I may have had at that time about 4 calls a week from men who wanted sex therapy in their own way of sex therapy. It was more so trying to have sex or me do something physical to them to help them get over their sexual issues. And I'm like, that's not the type of sex therapy that I do. That's not even what sex therapy is. So I had to take that off my profile and separate the two, because I needed people to take the counseling aspect seriously and understand that if I'm counseling you because you have sex issues, we're going to deal with your emotional issues first. What's the emotional issue behind your hang up with sex or your issues with sex or whatever problem you're experiencing with sex? And then we can work on the actual sexual problem. So I keep them separate.
Yeah, no, you bring up a valid point, because I can't remember the show that really brought up a lot of us educators and therapists in uproars, that they were showing that sex therapy, going through and watching couples having sex. And for the life of me, I can't remember the name of the show that did that. And we all like freaked out. We're like, no, that's not what sex therapy is at all.
Yeah. Well, it's not. There is one, she calls herself the naked therapist. Yeah, she calls herself that, and I think she's literally naked. But we were talking about her in one of my little counseling groups. And then there are some people out there who do valid work. It's just not the work that I do, where they are a little bit more hands-on in the sexual process. There's nothing wrong with that if that's how you do it. It's just not what I do, and people get it confused sometimes.
Well, even for us, we're not licensed, but we do say that, and we do say we are sex and relationship coach. So we spend a lot of our time for people who are thinking about going into non-monogamy and answering and bringing up a lot of questions about, okay, you're together as a couple, you're going to a swing club. What are your expectations? And you would not believe how short it is. It's like to have sex. Like, all right, there's a lot more to it if you're going to stay a couple.
Exactly.
But we get calls at least twice a week. They usually hang up when I answer, but when you answer, that start going into so you'll be touching me, right? You'll be doing this, right? And we do Tantra, but again, that's we're not crossing that line.
Exactly.
It's something different. And although again, Tantra, the hands-on stuff, the
conscious erotic touch,
it's valid, but it has a spot. And I hate to say it, it is always guys. It is always guys that will call up and be like, so there's going to be a happy ending. And we're like, okay, nope, done, click.
No, that's it. No happy ending there. And it's just trying to get that expectation that we're like, no, then you want Night Flirt or Pornhub. That's what you want, because that's not happening here.
Yeah.
We're legitimately looking for your mental health, your emotional well-being, understanding boundaries, because people sometimes like forget. It's like, what do you mean I have to have boundaries? I'm like, really?
Well, you brought up a good point. When I, just to kind of circle back real quick, when I do my shows, I always, that's why I say the educational shows too, because if I'm having an issue, like this couple with a threesome, we're going to talk about somewhere, one of the characters has to say something about like boundaries or these are the things you need to look out for. You want to make sure you're using protection. Like they're going to say something educational in their spill, because the goal, again, is to teach people in the audience these things. Like, okay, we're not just having a threesome. You got to talk about it. You got to talk about these certain points, if you're going to have a threesome.
So yeah, that goes back to our playbook. It's like, you're watching a game. They have the pre-game show. They say what the expectations are, what's going on, what has happened, what they want to see. Then you have the game, and then you have the post-game wrap-up. That's how you need to approach these types of relationships, or even your monogamous relationships. If you're going to have like a date night, what is it that you want out of your date night? Are you discussing it? What's your, wants or needs this night? I mean, do you just want to sit and watch a movie to get aroused, or you want to read erotica to each other?
The funny thing is, neither one of us are sports fans, but we keep going back to that analogy because it works.
It's a great analogy. I mean, it definitely makes sense. And like you said, it works. And then it was something else you just said, oh gosh, that I wanted to kind of piggyback on real quick. What did you say, Luna? You were saying
I said quite a bit. I said like boundaries, post-game wrap-up. What do we want to do?
Communicating.
Oh yeah, expectations. You were talking about expectations, and that's like the number one reason why people really break up is because of unfulfilled expectations. But we normally don't talk about our expectations.
Yep.
We don't talk about them. We just kind of assume, and hope that you get it right. But it's like you need to talk about your expectations, and then you need to ask your partner about their expectations.
Yes, that's why we created 2 lists. That we did a yes, no, maybe list that we tell people fill it out individually and then swap it out. So that way you could start the conversation. And then what's our other check-in list, our negotiation list?
Our negotiation list. So one is something you would do before a date night. Tonight, I want sensual. Tonight, I want, actually, that's the negotiation list. Yes. Tonight, I want rough and BDSM, or I want to be an exhibitionist. I want to be an introvert. I want to be spoiled because I'm tired, or I want to be the architect. So it's kind of like that communication tool so you can figure out tonight what you're going to do.
I love it. I love it.
The other one was a yes, no, maybe list that we say fill it out separately. Go in separate rooms, because when you're done, switch and then go down the list. And you might see that, hey, you're into puppy play.
Yes.
I never thought you would be. I've thought about that too. And it has probably about 120 different things that you can say yes, no, or maybe, and even put little notes on, like
how experienced you are, how often have you had it,
or I'd like to try it, but it needs to be in the right mood, or it needs to be maybe I do need that glass of wine before we try that. So, but tools like that are necessary because we really don't come innately with those skills of communication.
I definitely agree. So is that too something that's available like on your website? Like if I wanted to like send a couple to that website? Okay.
Yep. Just go to our website, which is sexpositiveme.com under resources. And there you'll find the list for both lists. And then I think a couple other things.
There's a few other games we put in there.
I love it. I love it.
During one part of COVID, when we were drinking a little bit, we also came up with Pornhub Roulette, which probably is a fun game you can play alone or with your significant other.
It just went wrong with too many bottles of wine. We're just saying that. Okay. And you mentioned the Sex and Sexuality website and then your other website so people can still find you and social media links.
Oh, okay. So the other website is mekanicole.com. That's MEKA, M as in Mary. EKAN as in Nancy, ICOLE.com. And then my social media is Meka Nicole Alford. That's for both of them. That's Facebook and Instagram, and Sex and Sensuality as well.
I'm so glad you got that domain. We're going to list all those links in the show notes so that people can find you. And I'm going to do my best. I don't know if I can do an 8-hour drive, mostly because our car hit 218,000 miles and we know we need to get a new one. But with COVID, it's like, I'm going to buy it and then I have a car payment and I'm not going nowhere. I just want to make it last a little longer.
Well,
Yeah, 'cause
understood.
I think we drive maximum like 300 miles per month.
If that.
If that here. Well, because, a couple of our friends are like 50 miles, round trip. So that's why. And we visit.
Yeah, so we do 100 miles on a Friday night and then go nowhere for the next 10 days.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I understand. I mean, I'm in the house all the time. All of my sessions are virtual. We take our daughter to daycare, and then that's about it.
At least someone's having entertainment by themselves.
Well, thank you so much for coming on tonight and sharing, and thank you for doing this.
We appreciate your work very much.
Well, I appreciate that, and I appreciate your work too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So if you enjoyed the show, you can go ahead and check out us on sexpositiveme.com. We have all our links and social media over there. And what are we doing next week?
Next week is our Just Us podcast. So we're promising once a month that we will do a Just Us podcast instead of interviews, because I know everyone loves the interviews, but there's still times I want some alone time.
However, I was working on a topic for that one.
Wank Watchers?
No, we need a masturbation episode.
Wank Watchers.
We'll get into that. So stay tuned next week where we will talk about masturbation. Thanks for seeing us, and we will see you next week.
See you next week. Bye.